Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's story takes us deep into the heart of one of the most intense and shocking developments in the ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russia. It's a tale of precision, power, and an unexpected twist that sent shockwaves across military circles worldwide. The event revolves around a Ukrainian strike that obliterated a $180 million Russian fortress, a massive, heavily fortified installation believed to be one of Russia's most secure command centers. What followed after that strike was something no one anticipated, leaving analysts, commanders, and global observers stunned. The story begins with intelligence reports surfacing from Ukraine's military command in Kyiv. Satellite imagery and reconnaissance drones had identified a mysterious Russian complex hidden deep within occupied territory. It was no ordinary outpost. It was built to resist airstrikes, fortified with reinforced steel walls, anti-drone domes, and underground tunnels. The structure had been rumored to host Russian electronic warfare units, missile control systems, and senior officers coordinating operations across the Eastern Front. For months, this fortress had been a symbol of Russian invulnerability until Ukraine decided to challenge that perception. Inside the command rooms in Kyiv, the mood was tense but determined. Ukrainian intelligence had intercepted encrypted communications that hinted at a critical meeting taking place inside the fortress. It wasn't just another strategic outpost, it was a nerve center connecting various Russian operations across Donetsk, Zaporozhye, and Luhansk. The timing had to be perfect. A single missed opportunity could allow the high-value targets to relocate. After hours of deliberation and coordination between special units and long-range missile operators, the order was given. The operation would proceed under the cover of night. The interior scene was tense and focused. Technicians stared at glowing screens as coordinates were locked in. Commanders whispered final confirmations while radar specialists monitored airspace activity. In one corner, a pair of soldiers watched the launch vehicles being armed, the faint whir of machinery blending with the hum of anticipation. No one spoke unnecessarily. Every movement carried purpose. When the countdown began, the room fell silent. Within moments, a volley of precision-guided missiles roared into the dark sky, slicing through the air toward the Russian stronghold. What happened next was both devastating and historic. The missiles are believed to be modified Storm Shadows supplied by Western allies, pierced through the night and struck the fortress with surgical accuracy. The impact was so powerful that it shattered reinforced structures, ignited ammunition stores, and caused secondary explosions that lasted for nearly 30 minutes. Fireballs illuminated the horizon as the supposedly impenetrable Russian fortress crumbled into twisted metal and flames. Ukrainian drones captured live footage, showing plumes of smoke rising miles into the air, and within hours, the world witnessed what many had deemed impossible. Russia's $180 million fortress was gone. The strike was not just a physical blow, it was a psychological earthquake. Russian media tried to suppress the news, labeling it as a minor incident, but satellite images and footage released by Ukraine told a different story. What made this even more significant was the information uncovered in the aftermath. Ukrainian forces later confirmed that several high-ranking Russian officers were inside the fortress during the attack, attending a classified meeting. Some reports suggested that electronic warfare systems, radar equipment, and encrypted communication modules worth millions were also destroyed. The loss was not just in infrastructure, it was a massive setback in command and control capability. As the smoke cleared, Russian rescue teams rushed to the site, only to find the entire facility buried under debris. Emergency communication lines went silent, and the Russian Ministry of Defense scrambled to re-establish lost contact with units that had depended on the fortress for logistical coordination. Within hours, confusion spread across Russian positions, and conflicting orders were issued to various fronts. Analysts described the moment as one of Russia's worst command breakdowns since the start of the war. Ukraine, on the other hand, celebrated a major strategic victory but remained cautious, aware that Russia's retaliation could be swift and brutal. The performance of the Ukrainian weapon systems during the strike became a global talking point. The precision, coordination, and intelligence accuracy displayed in the operation impressed even Western military experts. It wasn't just about firing missiles, it was about the intricate synchronization between drones, satellites, and ground units. Ukraine's ability to integrate NATO intelligence, utilize Western technology, and execute a pinpoint strike against a heavily protected site demonstrated how far its military had evolved since the early days of the invasion. What was once a conventional army had transformed into a highly adaptive, technologically driven force capable of outsmarting one of the world's largest militaries. In terms of performance, the Storm Shadow missiles proved once again why they are among the most advanced air-launched cruise missiles in the world. Their stealth profile, long range, and precision targeting made them the perfect choice for the mission. According to sources close to the Ukrainian Air Force, the missiles were launched from modified Su-24 aircraft operating at low altitude to avoid radar detection. Once airborne, the missiles followed a complex pre-programmed path, evading Russian defense systems before striking the target within a margin of error smaller than 2 meters. The success rate was near perfect, underscoring the efficiency of Western-supplied systems when operated with precise intelligence and skilled planning. But the story didn't end there. What happened after the destruction of the fortress took everyone by surprise. Mere hours after the strike, Russian military networks were hit by a sudden cyber attack that paralyzed internal communications. Analysts believe this was part of a coordinated hybrid operation combining physical strikes with cyber warfare. The blackout delayed Russian retaliation, buying Ukraine valuable time to reposition its assets and reinforce vulnerable sectors. Some reports even claim that the cyber attack originated from an allied European intelligence unit, operating in coordination with Kyiv's Cyber Defense Command. If true, this would mark one of the most sophisticated joint operations in modern warfare. Safety remained a top priority for Ukraine throughout the mission. Despite the scale of destruction, the strike was carefully planned to minimize civilian harm. The fortress was located several miles away from populated areas, and evacuation alerts had been quietly issued to nearby villages just hours before the attack. The Ukrainian command took every measure to ensure that no collateral damage occurred, demonstrating once again their commitment to precision and responsibility even in wartime conditions. International observers later confirmed that no civilian casualties were reported, a fact that added to the legitimacy of Ukraine's action and reinforced global support for its defense efforts. Meanwhile, the reaction inside Russia was chaotic. The Kremlin faced a flood of questions from military officials demanding explanations. How could such an expensive fortress, protected by state-of-the-art air defenses, be completely destroyed in one night? Reports emerged that President Vladimir Putin was furious upon hearing the news, immediately calling for an emergency meeting with defense chiefs. The loss of not just infrastructure but morale was immense. Soldiers on the ground began expressing doubts about their leadership, while families of officers demanded accountability. The event exposed deep cracks within Russia's chain of command and highlighted vulnerabilities that were previously hidden from public view. The unique selling point of this entire episode was Ukraine's strategic brilliance. Unlike earlier battles that relied on brute force, this was a masterclass in intelligence-led warfare. By combining human intelligence, drone surveillance, and satellite imagery, Ukraine turned a complex, high-risk target into a calculated success. The operation symbolized the transition from conventional combat to data-driven, precision-based warfare, a style that relies more on information than on sheer numbers. It sent a clear message: in modern conflict, adaptability and intelligence can outweigh size and strength. The strike became a model operation studied by military analysts around the world. The unexpected twist came days later when reports surfaced that fragments recovered from the ruins of the fortress revealed sensitive Russian technology or equipment that Ukraine's allies could now analyze. This included radar components, encryption devices, and documents detailing Russian air defense protocols. Western experts called it an intelligence goldmine. What began as a tactical strike evolved into an intelligence breakthrough, providing Ukraine and its partners valuable insights into Russian systems. This information could help counter future threats and improve defensive capabilities across Europe. The event wasn't just a destruction, though it was a revelation. As the global community reacted, support for Ukraine surged once more. Nations that had been hesitant to provide long-range weapons reconsidered their stance, recognizing how effectively Ukraine had used precision arms without collateral damage. The operation demonstrated accountability, discipline, and professionalism, qualities that inspired confidence among allies. The European Union and NATO praised Ukraine's strategy, while media outlets across the world hailed it as one of the most daring and successful strikes of the war. The ripple effects were immediate. New aid packages, intelligence collaborations, and defense partnerships began to take shape in the following weeks. When it came to price, the contrast was staggering. Russia had poured over $180 million into constructing and maintaining the fortress, outfitting it with advanced security, radar jammers, and anti-missile systems. Yet, in a single night, it was reduced to rubble by a few missiles costing less than a fraction of that amount. The symbolic message was powerful. Money cannot guarantee invincibility when strategy and precision are on the other side. The financial loss compounded the psychological damage, forcing Moscow to rethink its defense infrastructure and spending priorities. For Ukraine, it was proof that resourcefulness can overcome resource superiority. The broader implications of the strike extended far beyond the battlefield. It demonstrated that modern wars are not just fought with weapons but with information, timing, and psychological advantage. Ukraine's success wasn't just about destroying a fortress, it was about dismantling a myth, or the myth of Russian invulnerability. The strike shattered the illusion that any structure, no matter how fortified, could stand against well-coordinated precision attacks. It also showed the world that Ukraine's resilience and ingenuity continue to redefine what's possible in asymmetric warfare. In the days following the attack, Ukrainian soldiers on the front lines reported renewed morale. Videos circulated showing troops cheering the news, waving flags, and proudly declaring victory for those who had fallen earlier in the war. The spirit of resistance grew stronger, fueled by the belief that every act of courage and precision brought them closer to reclaiming their land. For ordinary Ukrainians, the destruction of the fortress symbolized justice, a long-awaited moment of triumph against an aggressor that had once seemed untouchable. The country's resolve deepened, and with it, international confidence in their cause. As time passed, the story of the fortress strike became more than a headline, it became a testament to strategic excellence. Analysts began comparing it to historical moments of military ingenuity, citing it as an example of how smaller nations can outmaneuver superpowers through adaptability and intelligence. It underscored the importance of alliances, information sharing, and the fusion of technology with tactical wisdom. Ukraine had not just destroyed a fortress, it had redefined the parameters of modern warfare. The lessons drawn from this event will likely shape military doctrines for years to come. In conclusion, the Ukrainian strike that destroyed Russia's $180 million fortress will be remembered not only for its precision and scale but also for the remarkable events that followed. From the immediate chaos within Russian ranks to the cyber warfare aftermath and the intelligence discoveries, every element of this operation told a story of resilience, innovation, and courage. It was a moment when strategy triumphed over strength, when truth overcame propaganda, and when a nation under siege proved that intelligence and unity could achieve the impossible. As the dust settled and the world watched, one thing became clearer: Ukraine had not just won a battle, it had made history.